Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce the West Virginia University Eberly College of Arts and Sciences graduating class of 2012. Hello, graduates. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the singing of our national anthem, sung by Julianne Krem, a graduate student in the School of Music, accompanied by Dr. William Haller.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
You may be seated. Good morning. I am Robert Jones, and I have the privilege of serving as the Dean of the Eberly College of Arts and Sciences. On behalf of the college, it is my pleasure to welcome you today as we celebrate the achievements of our graduate degree candidates. Let's take a moment to congratulate them on their accomplishments. Those in attendance today are some of the more than 460 individuals who have earned graduate degrees from the Eberly College this academic year. We know also that their accomplishments reflect the dedication and support of many others, both here and elsewhere today. We should recognize the faculty members who have worked closely with these candidates and worked very hard, I might say, mentoring them as junior colleagues within their disciplines. With those faculty members in attendance, please stand for a moment and be recognized. We also know that there are many others in our graduates' lives whose support and encouragement have enabled them to pursue their academic aspirations. I ask that those parents, siblings, spouses, friends of the candidates, please stand for a moment and let us recognize you and thank you as well. Feels good to stand up, doesn't it? I also want to recognize Dr. Jonathan Cumming, Associate Provost for Graduate Academic Affairs, whose office works diligently to support our graduate programs and the students at West Virginia University. Jonathan, please stand. And let's please recognize Dr. Fred King, Interim Vice President for Research and Economic Development, and the college's former Associate Dean for Graduate Studies, who served throughout your time as a graduate student. Fred, would you please rise? And I'd also like to recognize a representative from the Office of the President, Jay Cole, Chief of Staff, who is a 1994 graduate of our Department of Political Science. Jay? All right, we're here for commencement, and as that very word implies, it is a time to look forward to all that you will accomplish as future scholars, leaders, innovators, and creators. The hooding ceremony recognizes what you have achieved to this point, reflecting a rich history and traditions of the Academy and honoring your progress in the pursuit of knowledge. But also marks a transition point in your life. It's a transition from learning and preparing for the future to leading and making that future a reality. This ceremony, steeped in ancient ritual, serves to celebrate that transition. You may very well know that the tradition of caps and gowns comes from the medieval era when monks wore hooded robes while studying and teaching for two reasons. The first is to keep warm, and maybe just as important, to identify who they were. Styles and materials were used to distinguish different kinds of scholars. Over time, the hoods gave way to hats, and those hats, as a mark of distinction, became ever increasing in size and complexity. Apparently, at some point in time, they became so piled up with material and extravagant that they became unwieldy, and so they invented the mortarboard to support all that. And today, the simple mortarboard and tassel are just the vestiges of those earlier elaborate caps. Now, the hoods that you see that people are wearing that drape down the back are entirely ornamental, but they still help signify differences among the graduates. The larger hoods signify doctoral degrees, smaller hoods, master's degrees. The color and arrangement of the lining of the hood are determined by the educational institution, blue and gold for us, of course, and also the velvet border signifies the type of degree received, so you'll see different colors for the different degrees in our college. But amid all this material pomp, it's best to remind ourselves that we are honoring a significant accomplishment. A graduate degree requires a deep and sustained focus on learning, discovery, and application of knowledge to build significant skill sets. Graduates, through your hard work, you have joined the ranks of our nation's thought leaders, our innovators, and creative geniuses. The door of opportunity has not opened for you. Rather, you have invented your own door, and now you're about to walk through it to an exciting future. We are exceedingly proud of your accomplishments and feel honored that you are part of the Mountaineer family. It's now my pleasure to introduce today's commencement speaker, Mark Brzaitis, Director of the Master of Fine Arts Program in Creative Writing in the WVU Department of English. Mark is an author, a teacher, and a leader. His short stories have been widely published and recognized as among the nation's best contemporary works, having won the 1998 Iowa Short Fiction Award, 2004 George Garrett Prize for Fiction, 2008 ABZ Poetry Prize, and the 2012 Richard Sullivan Prize. In addition to his short story specialty, which, by the way, is a very difficult one to do, Mark has been a screenwriter and successful journalist and has provided readings around the world, some of which have appeared on NPR, National Public Radio. With a Master of Fine Arts from Bowling Green University, Bachelor's of History from Harvard, and Peace Corps experience, Mark has used his experiences wisely to help build and lead WVU's creative writing program, which is now attracting significant national attention. His efforts have led to a National Endowment for the Arts Fellowship, Eberly College Outstanding Researcher, and Outstanding Teacher Awards. That's quite remarkable. And the 2011 Benedum Distinguished Scholar Award. Mark, I invite you to say a few words to our graduate students.
Thank you, Bob, Dean Jones. Thank you, distinguished administrators, scholars, colleagues. Thank you all for the hard work you've done to get to this point. Thank you to the families who have supported you in helping you get to this point. After being invited to speak with you today, I thought I would give you pithy parting advice illustrated with examples from my life and the lives of people I know. I thought I was going to say, don't be afraid to do what scares you. And I thought I would talk about how 15 years ago, when I was in Miami at a Peace Corps staging event, before I was to fly off to Guatemala, first for 3 months of training, then for 2 years of service. I became terrified of what was in front of me. As a Peace Corps volunteer, I was supposed to teach farmers how to improve the quality of their corn and bean seed, but the only farming I'd done was to plant a garden in the backyard of my house, in that celebrated land of sky-high grain silos and the family farm, Washington, D.C. If I knew next to nothing about farming, I at least knew Spanish. Yes, all of 3 words. No hablo español. I believed I was bound to fail. Resigned to quitting before I began, I called my father. He said, "You're thinking you have to do everything at once. Right now, think only about stepping on the plane tomorrow." And this is how fear is overcome, and a formidable challenge is met by taking a first step and a second, by learning one word and another, by planting one seed. Okay, you understand. But if I hadn't gotten on that plane, I certainly wouldn't be here. In Guatemala, I discovered another world, one which challenged everything I knew or thought I knew about myself and my country, about language and culture, about family and friendship, about failure, about success. It took me 3.5 books before I'd written all I'd discovered in Guatemala. And today I thought I was going to say, don't be afraid to say no, or even hell no, to something you see as wrong, even if, or maybe especially if, the wrong is happening in front of you and is being committed by people you know, maybe people you like, maybe people who have a say in your professional life. And I was going to embarrass one of my colleagues, Professor and former Chair of Psychology Mike Perrone, here in the auditorium today, who along with 24 other faculty members from across the university, as well as students and staff members and alumni, said no when 4 years ago here at WVU, an act committed at high levels that demeaned the sweat and sacrifice you put into earning your degrees wasn't followed by a just and suitable accounting. And today, I thought I would say, don't be afraid to be proud of what you know. While we gather here to celebrate your achievements and knowledge, we must recognize that we live in a country that tolerates, even elects, people who, when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable or politically expedient, treat science and knowledge like a rack of clothes in a department store. I'm going to take this one home. I'm not going to take this one home. I was going to say this and more. I was going to recite everything your time here at WVU certainly must have taught you, lessons in patience as well as practice, lessons in cooperation and compassion. I was going to quote Aristotle and Plato, Einstein and Emily Dickinson. I was going to impress you by name-dropping one-name singers who aren't Madonna, Adele. There. But whenever I thought about what I would say today, an image kept popping into my mind and refused, despite its seeming absurdity, to go away, or should I say, to swim away. The image of a killer rabbit. Specifically, the aquatically gifted killer rabbit that on April 20th, 1979, assaulted a small fishing boat on a pond in Plains, Georgia, piloted by the then President of the United States, Jimmy Carter. True story. When Carter was elected president, he doubtless imagined all sorts of crises and contingencies, but I guarantee he never once contemplated a fishing trip in which he was attacked by a rabbit doing the Australian crawl, Bunny World's answer to Michael Phelps. As Jody Powell, President Carter's press secretary, recounted in his memoir, The Other Side of the Story, the animal was clearly in distress or perhaps berserk. The president confessed to having had limited experience with enraged rabbits. He was unable to reach a definite conclusion about its state of mind. What was obvious, however, was that this large, wet animal making strange hissing noises and gnashing its teeth was intent upon climbing into the presidential boat. Why invoke a killer rabbit on this day of all days? What does it have to do with graduating from WVU's Eberly College? The back row says, nothing. Finish up, man, and let's celebrate. But give me a minute more. Maybe the rabbit story is meant to suggest that it isn't necessarily the critical moment in the moment that an education prepares us to confront. Perhaps it's the critical moment in retrospect. Consider all the academic disciplines President Carter's encounter with the berserk bunny might encompass. Wildlife biology, of course, and maybe wildlife psychology. Mathematics, if an enraged rabbit is swimming 95 miles per hour in a current going the opposite direction at 8 miles per hour, and a United States president, well, you get the message. There's history, there's political science, there's public relations. President Carter's political opponents portrayed the killer rabbit incident as representative of his haplessness, and things went downhill from there. And philosophy, the Zeno paradox featuring Achilles and the hare, could be updated and given a Hail to the Chief soundtrack. Or maybe President Carter's encounter with the rabbit suggests a moral. No matter how much you achieve in life or how exalted your title, humiliation might be right around the corner or hopping towards you down the bunny trail. Or maybe the image occurred to me accidentally, the way images and dreams sometimes do. If a cigar is sometimes just a cigar, perhaps a killer rabbit is sometimes just a killer rabbit. But no, I'm guessing the vision of Jimmy Carter's killer rabbit appeared to me because images and symbols dominate what I do, writing fiction and poetry, and often speak a truth I may not at first recognize. So perhaps the truth of the killer rabbit is this. We, WVU's professors and staff and administrators who have spent these years with you, who have, we hope, given you knowledge and a means to acquire knowledge, and a freedom in spirit as well as in space to create and discover, and yes, the confidence to walk out of here today into the future knowing you are exquisitely prepared for what you've been trained to do here. Perhaps we recognize on occasions such as this our limitations as mentors and teachers and guides. There is no course at WVU called self-defense against rampaging rodents, real or metaphorical. So the image of the killer rabbit might be a vision of humility, a reminder of how even a great university cannot prepare its students for everything. So, what then? A wish. Whatever form the rabbit might assume in your life, whether it's a professional setback, whether it's an illness to you or someone you love, whether it's an unexpected turn in what it means to be a parent or a child of aging parents, to be in a marriage or life partnership, to be a colleague or a boss, we, who have gotten to know and like and respect you these last few years, who have taught you but have also learned from you, who have seen you grow as scholars and human beings, we wish you a deft paddle to joust with the oncoming beast, or if this seems best, a lightning-fast oar with which to outrace it downstream. We hope you beat back the bunny. As for the other challenges ahead, given all you've achieved here at WVU, we're confident you can handle them. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you, Mark. That was very inspiring. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, please welcome Julianne Krem, who will sing My Home Among the Hills, composed in 1963 in honor of West Virginia University's centennial celebration by Clarksburg native Mr. E.W. James.
There's a land of rolling mountains where the sky is blue above, and though I may roam, I hurry home to the friendly hills I love, where the moonlit meadows ring with the call of whippoorwills. Always you will find me in my home among the hills, and where the sun draws rainbows in the mist of waterfalls and mountain rills. My heart will be always in the West Virginia hills. Their autumn hillsides are bright with scarlet trees, and in the spring the robins sing, while apple blossoms whisper in the breeze. And there is music in the flashing streams, and joy in fields of daffodils, laughter through the happy valleys of my home among the hills.
Okay, the moment we've been waiting for. I'm now going to turn our department chairs, turn to them for the presentation of the degree candidates. We will recognize graduates in alphabetical order by department, beginning with biology. I invite Fred King, Interim Vice President for Research and Economic Development, and Jonathan Cumming, Associate Provost for Graduate Academic Affairs, to join me for the presentation of degree candidates.
Good morning. I'm Richard Thomas, the Chair of Biology, and we have one student who is being hooded today. Her name is Liz Marie Ferguson. She's getting her master's degree, and she'll be hooded by her advisor, Dr. Wells.
Good morning. My name is Terry Gullion. I'm chair of the Department of Chemistry. It's now my pleasure to introduce candidates for the Ph.D. in chemistry. Okay, our first candidate is Dr. Stephanie Ann Archer Hartman. Her thesis title is Glycan Characterization and Manipulation Using Phospholipid Additives for Capillary Electrophoresis, and her advisor was Dr. Lisa Holland. Our next candidate is Gudong Gu. His thesis dissertation title is Mass Spectrometric Approaches to Characterization of Chemical Species Containing Metallic Ions. His advisor was Dr. Fred L. King. Our next candidate is Ted James Langan. His title for his dissertation was Capillary Electrophoresis for Measuring Biological Interactions, Binding Affinity, and Enzyme Kinetics. His advisor was Dr. Lisa Holland.
Good morning. My name is Matt Martin. I'm the Chair of Communication Studies. Dr. Keith Weber will be hooding 5 master students here. J. Grant Cup. Anne-Marie Eleanor de la Garza. Henry Eugene Fletcher III. Christina Marie Sullivan. Jenny Renee Toma. We have 2 individuals that are receiving their doctoral hood today. The first one is Dr. Colleen Carol Malkowski. The title of her dissertation is Exploring the Effects of Implementation, Intentions, and Goal Formation on Anxiety and Communication Effectiveness when discussing difficult interpersonal topics. Her advisor is Dr. Melanie Booth Butterfield. Dr. Sydney Michelle Staggers. The title of her dissertation is Sports-Related Traumatic Brain Injury, an investigation of college students, athletes' perceptions of communicative facework and communicative strategies for managing uncertainty, and her advisor is myself.
Good morning. I'm John Ernest, Chair of the Department of English. It is my pleasure to introduce students who have completed completed requirements for the Master of Arts degree in English, being hooded by Dr. Brian Ballantyne. Martina Celeste Helfrich. Jessica Elizabeth Murphy. McKenna Ann Parati. And this one I will hood myself, Mark Matthew Scaramuzzi. It is my pleasure as well to introduce students who have completed requirements for the Master of Fine Arts degree in Creative Writing. They will be hooded by Professor Marianne Salmon and Mark Brazaitis. Professor Brazaitis will hood Matthew L. London. And Professor Marianne Salmon will hood Kelly Aline Sundberg. And it is now my pleasure to introduce candidates for the Ph.D. in English. Dr. Jeremy Clayton Justice, whose dissertation is titled Failure of the Surveillance State, Observation, Narrative, and Identity in American Literature and Culture Since the Cold War. And his faculty advisor is me. Dr. Nevena Stojanovic, whose dissertation is Living Pictures, Performances of Jewishness in Late 19th and Early 20th Century American Novels, and her advisor is me.
Good morning. My name is Suzanne Bell. I'm representing the Forensic and Investigative Sciences program, and it's my pleasure to introduce and hood 3 students who have received a Master of Science in Forensic Science. First, Eric Lyle Everett. Mandy D. Hellestead. Bailey Elizabeth Knowlton.
Good morning. I'm Steve Kite. I'm chair of the Department of Geology and Geography, and I would like to introduce the folks who finished a master's degree in geology being hooded by Dr. Shika Sharma. Joel Michael Follmeyer. Michonne Lynn Mulder. Now for the Master of Arts in Geography, being hooded by Dr. Timothy Warner. Benjamin Allen Baker. It's now my pleasure to introduce the Ph.D. candidate in Ph.D. recipient in geology, being hooded by Dr. Tom Kammer, Elizabeth Carol Renberg. Her dissertation topic is systematics, phylogenetics, and biogeography of early Mississippian camerate crinoids of the non-member Lake Valley Formation in south central New Mexico. For the Doctor of Philosophy in Geography, I will hood Dr. Timothy Scott Pruitt. His dissertation topic is Coca or Death, the Political Ecology of Cocalera Resistance, a comparative analysis of the cocoa farmer social movement in Andean Peru. His advisor was Dr. Robert Hannum.
Good morning. I'm Elizabeth Farnsworth, Chair of the Department of History. It's my pleasure to introduce students who have completed the requirements for the master's degree in history. We have 9 students this morning here from our many who completed the degree, beginning with Catherine Louise Brackett, who is being hooded by Brian Lesky. Jared Thomas Frederick, hooded by Dr. Brian Lesky. Jason Scott Hedrick, hooded by Dr. Melissa Bingman. Kathleen and Elise Logothetis, hooded by Dr. Brian Lesky. Eric Raymond McLaughlin, hooded by Brian Lesky. Elizabeth Ann McMullen, hooded by Dr. Melissa Bingman. Dean R. Obrakta, hooded by Dr. James Siegmeyer. Joseph McLean Phillips, hooded by Dr. Melissa Bingman. Max David Renke, hooded by Dr. James Siegmeyer. It is now my pleasure to introduce our candidate for the Ph.D. in History, Dr. Charles Edwin Steinmetz. The title of his dissertation is African Resistance and the First World War, and he's hooded by his advisor, Dr. Robert Maxson.
Good morning. I'm Eddie Fuller, Chair of the Department of Mathematics. It is my pleasure to introduce the students who have completed the requirements for a master's degree in mathematics, being hooded by Drs. Vicky Seeley and Hongjin Lai. John Elliott Bassler. Renee Von LaRue. Kristen L. Murphy. Katarina Nicole Smith. It is now my pleasure to introduce our candidate for the Ph.D. in Mathematics, Dr. Jordan Michael Hedrick Musser. His dissertation title is Modeling of Heat Transfer and Reactive Chemistry for Particles in Gas-Solid Flow Utilizing Continuum Discrete Methodology, and I will be hooding him on behalf of his advisor, Dr. Mary Ann Clark.
Good morning. I am Earl Seamy, Chair of the Department of Physics. It is my pleasure to introduce students who have completed the requirements for a master's degree in physics. The first student is Oshada Ranasinghe. Our next master's student is Zhengjun Wang. It is now my pleasure to introduce our candidate for the Ph.D. in physics, Dr. James David Rawl. His thesis title is Nanosize Effects in the Magnetic Properties of the Two-Layered Hydroxides of Nickel. I'll be hooding him on behalf of his research advisor, Dr. Mahinda Sira.
Hi, I'm Dr. Erin Cassess, a representative from the Department of Political Science. It's my pleasure to introduce students who have completed the requirements for the master's degree in political science, being hooded by Dr. Donley Studler. Our first student is James Lowell Zoris II. Todd Taylor. Michael Edward Thunberg. Vontrice Renee White. It is now my pleasure to introduce candidates for the PhD in political science. Our first is Dr. Edward Brenya. His dissertation, Trans-Border Advocacy Network and Tobacco Control, the adoption of WHO, FCTC best practices into domestic laws in Ghana and Malawi. His advisor is Dr. Donley Studler. Our second doctoral candidate is Dr. Felix Kumba Abiu. His dissertation, examining the dynamics of policy change in U.S. narcotics policy, implications for the global narcotics regime. His advisor is Dr. Donley Studler.
I'm Tracy Morris, Chair of the Department of Psychology. It is my pleasure to introduce students who have completed the requirements for the master's degree in psychology, being hooded by Dr. Karen Anderson. Our first candidate is Amanda Hauser Costello. Christina Marie Kenya. Tara Eileen Carnes. Colleen Michelle Keelan. Amanda Lee McBean. Kara Alexis Palmer. Jocelyn Fern Stokes. Rhea Melinda Travers. Michael Alden Windsor. It is now my pleasure to introduce candidates for the Ph.D. in psychology. First is Dr. Chad Stewart Bryce. His dissertation title is Dating Anxiety and Paternal Dating Rules. I am his faculty advisor. Dr. Ann McKinnon Foreman. Her dissertation title is Negative Reinforcement by Timeout from Avoidance, the Rules of Discriminative Cues, Shock Frequency Reduction, and Response Effort Reduction. Her advisor is Dr. Michael Perrone. Dr. Christine Elizabeth Gould. Her dissertation title is Effects of a Worry Induction on Heart Rate, Emotion, and Self-Reported Arousal in Younger and Older Adults. Her advisor is Dr. Kevin Larkin. Dr. Sally L. Huskinson. Dissertation title, Effects of D-amphetamine on Delay Discounting with Different Response Requirements in Rats. Her advisor is Dr. Karen Anderson. Dr. Katrina Lee McCoy. The dissertation title is Incremental Validity of the Psychopathic Personality Inventory, Revised in Predicting Program Failure. Advisor is Dr. William Freemow. Dr. Elizabeth Eveline Stakem. Her dissertation title is PTSD and its relation to trauma and offending in incarcerated juveniles. Her advisor is Dr. Joseph Scotty.
Good morning. My name is Maya Holmes, and I'm representing the Division of Public Administration, and it is my pleasure today to introduce the candidates who have completed the requirements for the Masters of Public Administration, and Dr. Karen Coons will be hooding this morning. So first off, Michael Christopher Adams. Stavros Atas, thank you. Matthew Joseph Bazanowski. Amanda Eileen Agimaforo. Cody Christopher Ford. Ryan Cliff Gillespie. John Andrew Kincaid. Brittany Salmons. Tyler Brenton Schenk. Samuel Weymouth Stout. And William B. Turner.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Doris Nicholas, and I am not the chair of social work. However, I'd like to recognize our interim chair, Dr. Christopher Pline. As this will be my last commencement participation because I'm retiring, I have been honored to introduce to you our MSW students and the faculty that will be hooding: Dr. Karen Harper Dorton, Dr. Christopher Hash, Dr. Helen Hartnett, and Dr. Carrie Rischel. Our first candidate, Audrey Alcala. Lacey Noel Bellotti. Akia Carter Bozeman. Mary Melissa Cleveland, and I will be hooding her. Jamie Lynn Downs. Amanda Eileen Ejiofor. Amanda has completed 2 master's degrees. This is in social work, and she's already been honored with her public administration. Congratulations. Amanda Dawn Friend. Alyssa Marie Grin. Crystal Ann Harper. Tina M. Hawkins. Brittany Eileen Henderson. Elizabeth Marie Hansley Holliday. Crystal Jean Hoffman. Cute shoes. Amanda Lynn Honecker. Courtney Elizabeth Hoover. Jessica Lee Hoff. Megan Kylie Corey. Margaret Catherine Marks. Michelle Ann McGilton. Sulafa Assad Rashid, and I will be hooding her. Melissa Ann Rosenberger. Brittany Salmons. She also has received dual master's degrees, one in public administration and now in social work. Colleen Joe Savage. Michael Christopher Shore. Lindsay Michelle Smith. Brittany Megan Sponagle. Melinda Lynette Strader. Audra Nicole Warren. Julie Ann Yurkovich.
Good morning. My name is Corey Collier, the chair of the Division of Sociology and Anthropology. It is my pleasure to introduce the candidates for the degree of master's degree in sociology. Laura Michelle Foster.
Good morning. I am Jim Horner, Chair of the Department of Statistics. It is my pleasure to introduce students who have completed the requirements for the Master of Science in Statistics and being hooded by Dr. Mark Kalp. First student is Brian J. Birdie. Eric Richard Eddy. Shanika Sheree Hamilton. Stephen James Shue. Harini Vaduria Nath. Polly Catherine Povachel Ziegler.
Good morning. I'm Angel Tuninetti, Chair of the Department of World Languages, Literatures, and Linguistics. It is my pleasure to introduce students who have completed requirements for the master's degree in World Languages, Literatures, and Linguistics, being hooded by Dr. Susan Brady. From Jordan, Juman Safwan Al-Fuhari. From Italy, Eva Ballardini. From New York, Zachary Balog. From German, Jana Blach. From Mexico, Abigail Carretero Hernandez. From Colombia, Nelson Castillo Narváez. From Spain, Tamara de Inés Antón. From Spain, Sara Echarri Recarte. From Spain, Macarena Escondrillas Luna de Toledo. From Spain, María Fernández Conde. From Russia, Natalia Kunestova. From Iran, Negar Mohammadi. From Argentina, Juan Mundel. From Pennsylvania, Patricia Moore Patton. From Spain, Laura Pérez Marco. From Spain, María Ruiz Rosique. From Colombia, Isabel Cristina Sánchez. From Japan, Ayaka Sano. From West Virginia, Catherine Shepard. From Spain, José Ignacio Sierra López. From Costa Rica, Sigrid Solano Moraga. From Spain, Juan Soto Valero. From Spain, Sara Urricutecoechea Romero. And finally, from Italy, Marco Seni.
Wow. Congratulations, degree candidates.
Hi. Will the doctoral and master's candidates from the Eberly College of Arts and Sciences please rise? On behalf of West Virginia University, I congratulate each of you on your accomplishments. Collectively, you possess the broad range of knowledge that encompasses the human experience to this point in time. You possess the ability to examine questions critically and to pose new, creative solutions to problems presented to you. Beyond being able to think, you have also developed the ability to express those thoughts to others and expand their understanding of our world. These are not simply skills that prepare you for a career, but these are the skills that prepare you to live life to its fullest. A key trait that has brought you to this point is a love of learning. I ask two things of you going forward. Do not lose that love of learning, and do not fail in your responsibility to share that love and what you have learned with others around you. This is what you have been prepared to do. And now, by virtue of the authority vested in me by West Virginia University Board of Governors, I hereby confer upon you the degrees for which you have been recommended, with all the rights, honors, and privileges pertaining thereto. Please join me in congratulating our newest graduates.
And now, class of 2012, I think you'll be doing something that you are going to honor and treasure for many years to come. Would all of our family, friends, faculty, and honored guests please rise and join together in singing the words of the alma mater, written in 1939 by WVU graduate student Louis Corson. During the singing of the alma mater, it's customary for gentlemen to remove their caps, and you'll find the words for the alma mater in the inside cover of your program.
Alma, our alma mater, the home of mountaineers, sing we of thy honor, everlasting through the years. Alma, our alma mater, we pledge in song to you. Hail, all hail our alma mater, West Virginia, you.
Well, this concludes our commencement. To our friends and families, I wish you safe travels, and to our newly minted alumni, happiness. I ask that you all remain in your chairs until the platform party has finished its recessional, and I invite all of you to join us for a reception in the lobby of the Creative Arts Center. Thank you.